Okay, hi everyone. Just wanted to continue with the magazine front cover that I started to put together. I said that some of you might have decided to use Pixlr to basically do your whole front cover if it sort of worked and felt a bit better than doing everything through Lucid Press, and that's absolutely fine. We'll use Lucid Press just mainly for doing your article page, so you can show things off a little bit more. But this is sort of where we left up to the other day, and as I was kind of showing you, it was more to do with placing your masthead behind your main cover image if that was the sort of convention and style that you were going to go for. So I'm just going to sort of continue with that sort of theme and using the sort of interface of Pixlr rather than using Lucid Press, because as I said, some of you might have decided that this actually works quite well for you and you want to continue with this way. Just stick with me as best as you possibly can, but I'm just going to throw some bits of cover lines and main cover line in there, and maybe a couple of shapes and a bit of a pug in there. So stick with it as best as you possibly can and just sort of just take note on the way that I do things. But just a reminder, as always, make sure you use your layers. If you need to add new layers in from time to time, which I'll come to show you to do, please make sure you do it from here. It's always 10 times easier rather than putting everything onto one layer, because things just don't work so well. You've got your history if you need to go back through anything or delete anything or look at anything at a prior process, and you'll be able to just work everything around there. All right, so I'm just going to start off with my main cover line to begin with. Just to get that sort of positioned and centered and all that, you'll need to have a little think about what you want to write in here, and I'll just sort of ad hoc it as I go along and sort of make things up as I go. So if it's a little bit rubbish, then you'll know why. But I've just sort of gone to the T, drawn a box, and you get this standard default text that's in there. But one important thing you'll notice up here, that there is a new text box that's in there. Obviously, being Gallagher, I'm just going to go with rock and roll star. I'll be if I actually spelled it right. It didn't look right. For my main cover line, okay? And I'll just kind of do a little bit more there from a little sub and a little bit more of a lead that goes into it. But from there, obviously that's my text. Across the top, you've got your colour, you've got your size, and you've got all the different types of font and typeface that you could potentially choose from. There's loads and loads of them that are in there. The ones that you won't be able to use are the yellows, because they're the ones you have to pay for. So like all online software, there's always pros and cons, as I've kind of been through, but a little bit like the vector software, there are loads and loads of fonts that are in here that you will potentially be able to work from and see through. Quite like it the way in which you write it, but you'll be able to go through each of them like this as you kind of move along and see the ones that kind of work and how it might kind of fit to your chosen genre. Obviously, that was one of the big things that I kind of talked about in the conventional side, the planning stage. But me, myself, I'm just going to go with, where's it go? Atmosphere, whatever it's called. But I sort of like it. It's just a bit different, a bit quirky, and I think it sort of fits quite nicely to the cover and the convention of the genre. So obviously, way too big in terms of size, so you just knock it down ever so slightly like that, and it can fit to something a bit more appropriate. That's probably way too small, so we have to sort of strike that even balance between each of them, and it will work quite nicely like that. So I'm on 315 there. Normally you can highlight a certain part of your text and make the reduction like so. All right, so just remember it in that sort of way. Once you select it all, you can resize it and all the rest of it that way. So I'm pretty happy with it fitting like that. I wanted it rock and roll, I wanted the star underneath. You can start to play about with some of the formats. Some of the formats are quite nice to do your alignment, to kind of make it a bit bolder, make it stand out a bit more. You've got your line space, which will separate them a little bit, so you can see the star moving down and down if you want to. Drag it back up if you want it to sort of connect a little bit more. The letter space is quite nice to widen the word a bit more, so to speak. As you can see, the letters are getting further and further apart, and then we can rock it all the way back and make it a little bit closer if you want to. So that's just in your formats. Lots of options in your style as well. These are more to do with the actual the text itself, so you can put curves on it if you want to. You can put backgrounds, as you kind of see in that grey. I'll just quickly choose a blue for you. You'll be able to see it as demonstrated. If you want to, obviously this is all kind of down to you which way you want to go about things. In all honesty, I'm quite happy with no background colour, but what I might want to do is make it stand out just a little bit more. So I'm going to stick a little bit of a sort of black outline on there and work around that with some of the size. So you'll see it increases more and more and more as we go along. It's very subtle, which is quite nice. And that's all the way up to the top. So it's just got a nice little outline to it. And obviously you can put your shadows on if you desire as well. I'm not too bothered with that, but just to quickly show you, I'll show you something quite significant. Go for a nice little pink. Actually quite nice how that works. But you've got your distance, which will sort of increase it a bit more, your direction. You can change your opacity to make it more prominent or much more see-through. So it kind of depends on how you work. Weirdly, I sort of quite like that, which is a bit strange, but yeah, there we go. I'm going to take it off, but we simply do it like so, and you can just flick it on and off from there if you want. It still stays on. So you can always go back to it if you decide. Remember, this is all about your workings and showing how you're doing things and why you're doing things in certain ways. The more demonstration of this you can do, the more creativity you can bring into it, the more justification, the better grade that you will get for the practical side. So I'm pretty happy with that. We'll go with there, and I'll just drop another little text box in here. You see it pops it up at the top on the layers, and I'll just say Pixlr, okay, because obviously that's the sort of idea in the title of it. That's not essential. I've just put that in there because I think it works quite well with things. Let's get that size right down, like so. Okay, and that'll sort of do for now. You know, we just sort of work around it, work with the things that kind of work better for us. But that's simply how you use it with your text. There's loads of options in there that you might want to go for. Don't forget, we got to make it conventional as well, so I'm just going to stick blossoms in there as another feature story within my magazine itself. I might as well just drop a little shadow on it, make it stand out a little bit more. Let's go with that pinky purple. Distance, more blurred, and let's change that opacity, make it stand out a little bit more as well. Okay, obviously we can look at it and see if we're happy with the font. We might not be happy with the font. You might want to choose something that's maybe a little bit more related to the band themselves. Let's go with Bad Star. Oops, I don't know what that is. There you go. It's a paid one, that's why I didn't see where that was. Arctic. Let's go with that. It works all right. That's not too bad. As always, you can move things around just simply by moving it from your selection tool up here, and you can move it to wherever you want it to be on your page. Obviously, these are not aligned perfectly. It would take me much longer, but I don't want to waste your time. I want you to get on with things and just give you some of the basics. But you build up all your cover lines from there. Another final thing that I want to show you is just a little bit on using your shapes. So just on the left-hand side here, just this little one, as you'll see, you can draw your shapes. Now, one thing that you will find a limitation of is actually being able to draw things freehand. I personally would go with the sort of default ones that are kind of in there. So if you make sure that design is selected, you've got obviously rectangles, you've got a rounded one with a little bit of curvature on your edges, you've got your circles as well. Lines work, but you know, lines are just very simple and straightforward. You can't make a shape from it is the important thing to remember. And you've got some of your custom ones as well, so you can kind of fit it to however you like. But as always, we're a little bit limited. The main thing that I'm going to do here is I'm just going to put a little bit of a banner in there, okay? And straight away, I'm going to fill that with a lighter sort of shade of yellow, just to make it stand out a little bit more. It's probably a little bit too much, a bit too prominent. You can work around whatever colour. I've just gone for it because it's a little bit garish and a little bit in your face, but it sort of works nicely with the banner. You know, the way that you could also make it up like a banner traditionally works is sometimes some magazines kind of put them in there. Okay, so my demonstration on this one is just to remind you to remember to use your layers, and simply popping that on top of the other one brings it a little bit more forward, and we're able to work it that way. So this just goes back to my important point about using your layers in effective sort of ways. All right, so that's it, just in terms of some of the shapes, font that's on there as well, and putting your text on it. You can work around it as best as you want. If you want to put some of the other bands or their logos onto your cover, again, same sort of thing. If you can remember from the last lesson, you just go to your layer, you add it as an image, you add your image as a layer, and you'll be able to find the logos if you've saved it from Google Images to the page itself. You can it would be better if you chose a PNG, but you can get rid of some of the elements of the background if you want to, and that's just by using your one select. So on old traditional Photoshop, it's just called the magic wand. So if you click on that, and if I just quickly pop onto my masthead layer as part of things, fingers crossed this works. Oh yeah, it kind of has done. I'll choose that blue. But your magic wand will choose a certain part of the colour. So from that logo, you'll be able to choose the background of it, whatever it will be. And normally, well, this is going to really put it to the test, if you click on it with the magic wand, it will choose that element of tolerance on the colour. And if you press backspace, it did work. It will just get rid of things that you want to show. All you do from there, I sometimes click on the square, click anywhere, and it works like that. But I'll just undo that, just go back to its original form. And there we go. So it's simple, straightforward, and easy enough, I guess. You can just be as creative as you like. You know, you might want to sort of stick a little bit of a pug in there. Let's have that. Let's pop another there. So if I just put win, obviously you can't see it because it's all in white. I'll just go with black. And this is just going to be my little competition pug. Win. Galgers. Gazelles. Okay. There, let's make that. Yeah, whatever, that'll do. For now, as we work around it. And there's my little competition pug that's on there as well. And that's it. That's kind of where we go with things. As you know, we've got to make sure that we save it, export it, etc. You can export individual things, but the most important thing is to save it up, like so. I'd always go with a PNG. But JPEG will work okay if you're not going to do any more amendments to it. So either your PNG or your JPEG. Don't forget the aspect ratio in terms of your size, so 2480 on pixels and 3508 on pixels for your height and your width is effectively an A4 page. If you click on download, it will pop it down here into your downloads itself, and then we can just drop that into Lucid Press, and there will go your magazine front cover. All right, so it was simple, straightforward enough, I hope. Any questions, as always, just drop me a line and have a play about with things. Remember to make sure you keep doing your screenshots. Do a screen recording if you prefer to, and then you can go back to it and take the parts that you want with a print screen. But this will do nicely to show some of your evidence. Okay, guys, cheers for your time anyway. Nice one.